everyone that this meeting is being recorded. So with that, we can get started with item number 1. 1332 Ashley River Road, requesting the demolition of a single-family home built in 1955.
Thank you, Erica. This is David Meeks, and I was just going to go over, where's my contact? I was going to go over some of the context for the location of the property. This is 1332 Ashley River Road, as the chair said. Here's the location. It's at the corner of Winston and Ashley River Road. And then just a couple street view images. This is looking down, look north on Ashley River Road, and this is the driveway into the residence. And just another view into the property. And Linda, if you could go ahead and unmute. Sorry, it's Karen Taylor and Jane Hill are the first presenters. And with that, I will turn the conversation over to Karen Taylor or Mrs. Jane Hill. Are you able to hear us?
Hey, David, I can hear you just fine. Can you see and hear us okay?
Sure can.
We can. Okay, great. So my name's Karen Taylor. This is my mom, Jane Hill. You can see her sitting right beside me. We're zooming in from Huntsville, Alabama. And I'm just pretty much here for technical support. So I'm going to turn it over to Mom and let her kind of tell you her story and the reason behind the request for demo. So here's Jane Hill.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Jane Hill. I grew up in Charleston. I graduated from the College of Charleston. My husband, Ken, graduated from the Citadel. My sister and I inherited the property at 1332 from my mother 16 years ago. We could not agree on selling it, so it has sat vacant and in disrepair. So the reason we are asking permission to demo, here are some of the reasons I jotted down. Number 1, the house received major damage during Hurricane Hugo in 1989. 28 trees laid in the yard and rooftops for more than a month. My mother could not get back to the house. It was braided with those trees. The roof always leaked after that. Number 2, we had to board up the house several years ago as vagrants moved in. They turned the rooms in the house into potty boxes. The city continues to check on the house and inform me how things are. Number 3, the yard maintenance has been a nightmare in spite of spending over $30,380.10 on maintenance. People sort of take advantage of you when you're this far away. So we've just spent an inordinate amount trying to get a few things done that needed to be done that we didn't know about. Number 4, my civil engineering husband with experience at the Charleston Corps of Engineers. He was a design engineer with NASA and owned his own construction company for 5 years. He felt the house needed to be taken down. There is just so much damage that you can't see. Since my sister's death over a year ago, I want to keep moving forward. I would like to see something exciting happening to this property during my lifetime. Look at me, considering my age and with the coronavirus nipping at my heels, I just don't have that much time left to see this project end. So I would like to honor my parents while doing the best I can for the city of Charleston. I assure you, I want the very best to honor them and to do something with a property that is just exciting and just would benefit the neighborhood. I have a neighbor on one side and a neighbor on the other, and they are both commercial, and this is the only property that is not zoned commercial. So you see the pictures. The outside, I think, is a little deceiving, But when you see the inside of it, you would, if you could walk through or see it, you would understand. Maybe the pictures are a better defining. But anyway, so that's my story without going into a lot of detail.
Thank you. And I'm going to advance through the slides, and feel free to stop me and speak on any. Otherwise, I'll just slowly go through each slide now. So here's the exterior. And the front stoop. And then the inside shots. So does water actively come through the areas where we're seeing open ceiling?
It does.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been raining in the house probably for the past, what did you say, about 10 years?
Probably, yeah.
You can see by those blinds where the homeless people kind of try to get in and out through the windows and the back door, and they continue to do so even though it's boarded up.
The walls and the ceilings were plaster, so most of those are in the floor.
Okay. All right, I believe that's it for the
you.
photographs.
Any questions from the board? Dinos, you're muted right now.
Thank you. Mrs. Hill, I'm assuming you grew up in this house?
No, I did not.
You did
My
not grow up in
parents
this
bought
house.
that, yeah, after
I see.
I was in college.
I did.
Yeah, yeah, my
Very good.
grandchildren did, and
All right.
they all have a lot of good memories there.
I can imagine, and what a beautiful home. And as from a structural standpoint, I'm just curious, when was the last time y'all were at the house?
It's in November. My nephew, Dr. Chris Starr, who's a professor at the College of Charleston, he led a group through there that were interested in purchasing the house. There was someone from, I think it was HIT Construction, and there was a buyer and a seller.
Okay.
There were 4 people that he led through the house, and they all concluded they wanted to also, tear down the house. And anyway, that was their conclusion also. And they made an offer, but the offer was not accepted.
Yes, ma'am. May I ask you, you shared that you have a vision for the property. Would you speak to that for just a moment?
Oh, okay. I cannot tell you how many people have called, how many texts I've had, phone calls, really interesting things that people have wanted to do. Let's see, the first one that I had, they wanted to do an office building, the office storage building, actually. It looks like an office building. I mean, a beautiful, beautiful building, but the storage inside, so you would not know from the outside that it was a storage building, but it's actually an office storage building. Then I had someone that wanted to do office buildings upstairs and downstairs. They wanted to do like little boutiques. So I'm not sure how progressive West Ashley is if they could do that sort of thing. But in a lot of cities, they're doing that. Huntsville, Alabama, and Greenville, South Carolina, and other places are doing that sort of thing. A little small, little boutique area with offices above it. And then I had a neighbor call me, and he wanted to go to the back and make an alley in the back of the property. And he wanted to construct 7 Charleston type houses. Put the houses close to the street. You have your house and you have your patio and your garage, and the only entrance is from the back of the house, which I thought that was a great idea too.
Mhm. May I ask you, when was the last time, after Hugo, did the family execute any repairs to the house as far as?
Oh, yes, mother did. Yes, mother did. But those repairs just never seemed to work, because those trees that were on that house just did the damage. And my mother went to Columbia, and she could not get back to Charleston for 3 weeks. And so then when she did get back, I mean, I still have those photos.
Mhm.
She could not even get in the driveway. So they had to cut her way into the driveway even to get in. And the trees were still on the house. They had been on that house for almost a month. So you can imagine all the damage and rain that went in there and whatever happened there. So, you know, the entire city was just destroyed, you know, and people just had a very difficult time finding someone to do work for them, particularly her when she had 28 trees. I still remember that number.
Mhm. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? With none, we do not have any public comments. So David, staff recommendations, please.
Okay. The ordinance that discusses demolition in the purview of the Design Review Board states that the board should consider the architectural and aesthetic features of the structure, the nature and quality of the structure, including its architectural fabric, any historic significance, the nature and quality of the surrounding area, and the structure's contribution to the overall streetscape of the area. Staff would recommend that the structure be renovated to either maintain residential use or change to a commercial use. The interior of the structure is in bad shape, but it is cosmetic type damage that would probably need repair or replacing anyway. And the shell of the building is in very good shape. The style of the house is very attractive and the lot is beautiful with all the trees, but without knowing the structural condition of the home, it's difficult for us to make a recommendation. So staff is recommending deferral at this time for demolition, and we would like to request some type of maybe not a full structural report, but some type of structural inspection to get an idea of what the structure of the house is. So we are recommending deferral for demolition, which just means to defer it for this time until we are able to see some type of structural or inspection report.
Thank you, David. Ms. Hill or Ms. Taylor, did y'all have anything that you wanted to add based on David's comments?
No, that makes complete sense. Yeah, I guess we just need to contact a structural engineer and get them through there, 1 or 2, or what do you?
Yes, ma'am, 1. And David would be happy, I'm sure, to help you after the meeting and this week to just get you in the right direction.
Okay,
Cool.
perfect.
So with that, board discussion and a motion.
Again, this is Dinos, and thank you to the applicant. I can tell that there's a great deal of personal ties and understanding having lived through Hugo. I have certainly understood the frustrations. This project is a great example of a mid-century craftsman bungalow style structure. Its proportions are really beautiful. And that arched entry is wonderfully executed. The building, from just a visual observation, appears to be in fair to good structural conditions. I could see when I walked the property, no cracks in the masonry. The building certainly contributes to the contextual aspects of its immediate surrounding neighborhood. And other than the 1-story recently constructed brick office building across the street, it really does embody the period of prominent development in this area. this is a tough application, and the board in the past, I know, has agreed upon demolition in areas where buildings are neither architecturally, contextually, or significantly contributing to its neighborhood. And even with a structural opinion, from my perspective, it's still going to be a very difficult decision to support demolition. When you review the standards for demo, it possesses the building does possess strong architectural and aesthetic features and contributes to the quality of its surrounding and the streetscape. But I do also believe that the applicant deserves the opportunity to hear from more than one of the architects on this board. Unfortunately, two could not attend our meeting today. Thus, I would move to city's recommendation, staff's recommendation for deferral, with the request that the applicant provide a structural opinion of the building. But I do want to conclude so that I won't be misunderstood. I just want to go on record by saying that regardless of the structural opinion, and Lord knows we have as a board have really seen some homes that were questionable with regards to their structural capacity, but have denied demolition. For me, this will be a tough decision to support demolition on. But anyway, I would like to move for deferral with the structural observation report submitted.
So we have a motion from Dinos for deferral with the requirement of a structural report to follow. Is there a second?
I'll second that. This is Andy.
Okay, Andy has the second. I'll now call roll. Aaron?
Yes, in favor.
And then myself, yes, in favor. So 4 in favor of that motion. Thank you both very much.
Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you very
We'll
much.
be in touch, and I'll
Yes.
talk to you soon.
Sounds great.
Great
Thank
idea.
you.
Thank you.
So next on the agenda is item number 2, Glen McConnell Parkway at West Wildcat Boulevard, a Spinks gas station requesting conceptual approval for construction of a new gas station, car wash, and convenience store.
Okay, I have just a little bit of context first. Here's the location of the property off of Glen McConnell Highway, on the corner of Wildcat Boulevard and Glen McConnell. Here's a little closer view. It also borders on to William E. Murray Boulevard to the south. And then this is a shot looking at across from Glen McConnell into the site. Same, looking into the site. There is going to be a 50-foot buffer maintained between Glen McConnell and the location of the proposed site. And then this is on Wildcat Boulevard looking into the site. And then this is at the corner of Wildcat and William E. Murray looking into the site. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the applicant. Linda, if you could please unmute Glenn Minton.
I have 2 people with initials, but I don't know if they are our applicants because I don't know if that is the correct people. Can you
What are
ask
the
them to
initials?
please identify themselves?
What are the initials?
GBM, which I'm assuming is Greg Minton.
I
and
think
then there's
that sounds right.
it'd be nice, they should put their full name instead of initials because that's very confusing.
Yes.
Great.
And then I don't see any of the other 2.
Maybe let Greg in and let's see if he can, I see Andrew Todd Burke, he's on there.
Yeah, Ken and Greg, I think, are going to be together.
This is Greg Minton. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We
hey, Greg.
can.
Well, good evening. Again, my name is Greg Minton. I with the Spinks Company. I'm responsible for real estate development. I've worked with the company for 25 years. And First, I want to thank for the opportunity to get in front of the Design Review Board and the staff. I know it's been quite challenging with all the virtual meetings over the many months, and I just hope everyone's doing well and your families. But we're excited to be able to get to this point. We've worked over the past several months. We acquired this property over close to 2 years ago, and have worked throughout the layout and design for this proposal you're seeing tonight. And we've worked with the staff to gather input from and guidance to help us shape this project as we brought it together over the past several months. And throughout the design process, we try to provide a unique design for this corridor that will provide state-of-the-art convenience and services to the community while still enhancing the community that we serve over there. So the final version you're seeing today has had a lot of thought. We put a lot of factors in there that we evaluate for safety, flow for our customers, employees, and also providing functionality to allow to support and service the business. But tonight we want to walk through the design with you. And again, we have incorporated through a lot of conversation with the staff key components to bring this together. We have worked to plan for future road work that's going to be done on Wildcat at the intersection. Part of our design, we work with the staff to make sure that will work with what we're proposing. We've also addressed several comments from the staff as far as relocation of drives to create better circulation internally, and then also further away from the intersection as you get to the back road back there. But I wanted to kind of just, talk to you about the concept. We're providing a new tunnel car wash, which is, the bottom part of the parcel. Originally, when we had gone to contract, we were only going to buy half of this property, but ended up acquiring all of the land, which gave us the ability to put a tunnel car wash and our new state-of-the-art convenience store. And the design on the convenience store and the car wash is unique for this corridor. This is not one that we've built anywhere else. It was designed to meet a lot of the feedback of what the staff wanted to see in the building and architectural design and feel for the property. So we tried to incorporate that to create what we feel is a nice quality development for the property. But I am going to turn it over to Andrew and let him walk through some of the site components. And then we have Ken Betch to walk through some of the things that we've done with the architectural components. But if
Greg, is Ken with you, or we don't?
Ken is with me.
I'm
Okay,
here.
great. Okay, great. Thank you.
Can you all see us, or you just hear us?
We cannot see you.
Okay, good.
Okay.
And we typically limit the applicant presentations to about 10 minutes. We're being a little bit flexible with the virtual system. But if you could be cognizant of that, we have about 7 minutes left.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Andrew, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. I am Andrew Todd Burke. I'm a landscape architect with HLA. And just on this cover sheet, just wanted to mention it's 5.66 acres. And if we can flip to the next slide, which, and one more. So this is the existing conditions. So you saw by the pictures, it's a fairly young wooded site. There is a existing pond and drainage easement on the site, the pond that we will be expanding. And there are a few grand trees sprinkled in around the site, as well as that 50-foot buffer, which will be maintained through the development. Go to the next slide, please. So this is the site plan. You can see the expanded pond and the original location where it was. And in this site, as Greg mentioned, we worked with the TRC staff pretty diligently to make sure that our entrance on West Wildcat was going to accommodate the future widening. This intersection is getting improvements as part of the Glen widening project, the Glen McConnell widening project. So that's going to be a right in, right out. And we've also left enough space to be able to maintain that multi-use path that runs through that corridor as well. The other entrance on William E. Murray, as Greg mentioned, was shifted to respond to TRC and some DRB staff comments. And you can also see that the shaded parking spaces around to and adjacent the convenience store, they're all going to be done in pervious pavers in that area. And if we flip to the next sheet, we'll talk about a couple other site highlights. So above the car wash, you can see that there are 3 areas that we're treating as rain gardens that are going to be accepting the runoff from the parking lots. In that area, kind of right where his cursor was, that grand tree right there, in order to not affect that grand tree, we have a little section of boardwalk on the sidewalk there so as to not affect the roots of that grand tree. And then above there is a large tree save area, and even some of it goes off this page to the top where we will be leaving the site intact as is. Along West Wildcat, there will be a pierced brick wall as part of our streetscape improvements, as well as plantings throughout, focusing on native plants. And we are incorporating trees to be saved wherever we could. Some of them will be in parking lot islands along the edges, and anywhere that we felt we could, due to the grading, save as many existing trees in the canopy as well. You can see some of our plant palette pictures on here. These are plants that we plan on incorporating in different areas, whether it be the rain gardens or the streetscape improvements. There's also a outdoor dining area to the south of the store right there, which Ken will speak to with some other imagery soon. And I think that's it. I'll leave it to Ken so he can walk you through the architecture. Thank you for your time, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, Andrew. This is Ken Batch. I have my own architectural firm, Batch Associates, and we've been working with the Sphinx Company for a long period of time. And so I'm happy to tell you that this building is not a prototype. We haven't done any buildings, and all the buildings we've done for them, there's no building, there's no gas canopy, there's no car wash that's like this one, so it's unique to the site. If you look at the streetscape improvements, the intent there was to use the low screen wall to tie the elements of the buildings together. We try to use basically the same vocabulary, mass, and detailing for those buildings, so they basically all tie together and did not feel like a series of separate elements, but all had, again, same materials, same details, so it felt like it all hung together pretty well there. I think you can also see on those elevations that the car wash and the tower on the convenience store have all the same detailing. Andrew also alluded to the screen wall, which is a detail of that in the lower left of this drawing. And one thing we wanted to talk about very briefly was that I know that the city has a general requirement for those walls to be 4 feet high, but we felt like that because we wanted to try to make a connection between the active side of the convenience store and the walkway, the walkway that runs along the street there, we really wanted to make a physical connection and didn't want it to be sort of an uninviting thing, but more of an inviting element to the whole design. Go to the next drawing, please. This shows you the basic floor plans for the 2 buildings. One of the comments that we did have regarding the building from staff was to relocate the trash enclosure as far away from West Wildcat as we possibly could. And then you can see the very simple plan for the car wash that has, again, a series of elements to it that tie both sides of the building together. Next slide, please. These are the basic elevations for the convenience store and the gas canopy. One thing, we had a lot of discussion about the gas canopy, but the thing that we wanted to do was make it very simple and break it up so that it had some interest to it. Wasn't a simply long elevation or a long canopy, long facade. What we did want to do, though, is to make it very simple, and it's tall enough so that you can see from the renderings. You really look right past it. We did not want to make an element out of it because we wanted the car wash and convenience store to be the basic elements of the design. And you can see there's a large entry lobby, two-story lobby coming into the convenience store, which is a pretty unique feature there. And we also showed the use of an arbor, and we'll show that in the renderings, which basically allows us to, we do have some activity, do have some outdoor dining here, and we wanted again to tie that into the walkway that runs along West Wildcat. Materials are very simple. They're all the same brick, a series of horizontal reveals with a second tone of brick. And we also have kept the use of the Sphinx traditional blue to a fair minimum on some of the small canopies, but basically all the materials I think are all tied together very uniform in that manner. Next slide, please. These are the elevations for the car wash. Again, very simple vocabulary for it. The use of the towers, which tie into the tower for the convenience store, and the gas canopy. Next slide, please. And then these give you some ideas of the image of the facility. The top rendering is a look of the convenience store coming in off of West Wildcat. And you can see on the right-hand side the arbor, which provides cover for the outdoor dining area and its connection to the walkway along West Wildcat. Again, you can see the vocabulary, very simple. Again, we just try to keep it very simple, honest architecture to this very functional building. We did have some comments about the overall gas canopy, and we have made changes to it to reduce its overall mass, keep it a very thin, sort of elegant look. And you can see how the height of it allows you to see through that and not use that as an object in the foreground, but you see the convenience store beyond. The enlarged drawing below just shows you an idea of what we have there for the arbor, and it's tied to the walkway. So people can feel some physical connection to that and have the activity that you'd have at the convenience store tie into that walkway. And then the last slide is a slide showing the car wash from the inside of the site looking back toward the vacuum area there. Again, we try to keep these car parking areas away from West Wildcat and push the buildings up against West Wildcat so that we get the best image possible along the streetscape. And I think with that, I think we can open it up for questions.
Yep. Any questions from the board? Dinos, you're muted if you're talking.
I know a lot of people that would love to keep me on mute. Can you talk for a moment the mechanical screening, where the mechanical units are, how they're screened?
Sure. Yeah, the mechanical units, obviously there are no mechanical units for the car wash. All the equipment is contained in its equipment room. Everything for the convenience store is screened behind that tower.
Okay.
You can see there's a parapet there that's high enough for us to be able to screen the wall all the way around the perimeter.
Okay, very good.
And I think when we get into further development, Dinos, we can provide sightline studies for that or sections for that to demonstrate what we're doing.
Okay.
Any additional questions?
I get the only other question that I know that probably one of our fellow board members would ask is water management. Downspouts, have they been located? How do you anticipate?
Yeah, Dinos, basically all of the water in the convenience store slopes to the rear of the store.
Okay.
And then we have a parapet and we have a couple of rain head or scupper, they call them rain heads with downspouts, and they're all the same color as the brick on the building.
Okay.
And they're all located on the elevations. Same thing for the car wash. We have all of the steel slopes behind the parapet, goes through a couple of scuppers for the rain heads. I don't know what you call those big boxes, basically.
Mhm.
And then we have downspouts on the outside of the building.
And the only other comment dealt with, I know that there was discussion with regards to some fenestration, I believe along Glen McConnell. Is there, can you go back to the floor plan for a moment? Oop, I think we passed it, David.
Oh, I'm sorry.
One more.
The
Or,
floor plan.
There
Sorry.
we go. There we go. Okay. So really, looking at the plans themselves, it looks like 3 of the perimeters are surrounded by support functions, bathrooms,
that's correct.
kitchen, coolers. Okay.
And what we did is
Let
we,
him finish his question.
yeah.
No, I was finished. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
what
had
we
one
would,
question on what are the existing elevations on the site, and is there a FEMA base flood elevation?
We're in zone X, so
Okay.
yeah. The existing elevations are 13 and 14
Okay, thank you.
in that range.
Any additional questions?
I had a question. You said you have downspouts coming out. Are those downspouts intended to be tied into your storm drainage system?
they are.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they go below grade and they're tied in to stormwater connections below the slab.
All right. That sounds good.
Any additional questions? Moving on, there are no members of the public signed up for the public comment period. So David, staff recommendations, please.
Number one, the applicant has reduced the amount of asphalt paving that was previously shown. They've increased the size of some of the parking lot islands with the green space, and staff does like the rain gardens proposed. The trash enclosure was moved from near West Wildcat Boulevard to the west side of the store. There's a good amount of tree save areas, and the applicant is showing an ample amount of landscape improvements. Staff likes the addition of the boardwalk as a sidewalk near some of the grand tree roots at William E. Murray. Staff comment number 2, staff likes the Pierce brick wall. We had asked that it be slightly taller at 4 feet, but we could accept what they are now showing at 3 feet 4 inches. Staff advises to make the proposed perimeter screen wall a little clearer, more accurate graphically in plan view, with double lines and showing the piers, please. The transformer locations are always a concern, and we ask if the one shown next to the outdoor seating area could be moved to the edge of the parking lot. I have a illustration here. This would also allow for some landscape screening between it and Wildcat Boulevard. If it is not a possibility, can it be shifted a little to allow for some screening between it and the patio where people will be seated? Some kind of fence or screen fence or plantings. Number 5, please provide north arrows on all site and landscape plans. Number 6, staff had asked the applicant to look at a new canopy direction, something sculptural, or if not, to reduce the thickness of the canopy, which they have done. We had asked if the applicant is to stay with this design concept for the canopy to look at some type of false beams or something for the ceiling. I thought I had. So this is where you can see underneath the canopy. We were going to suggest some sort of beams to give a sense of some support, because it looks a little awkward when the pillars terminate into the flat ceiling. And then lastly, staff had asked for some fenestration on the west Wildcat side. That's this side here, under the arbor. And moving the tower entrance to the corner of the building towards Wildcat, which would involve some reconfiguration of the store interior. They were not able to do this, and staff does like the improvements made to the Wildcat side of the building with the arbor and the pillars, which are a nice addition. They also added some an additional access door on the east side of the building leading to the outdoor seating, which is a nice improvement. But with that, we do recommend conceptual approval.
Thanks, David. Board discussion in the motion.
Well, this is Dinos. You know, from an architectural standpoint, I think the applicant has done a very nice job. It's clean. I do think the fenestration is appropriate, possibly in the motion for approval, if there is a way to. You know, the one thing about the fenestration along Wildcat Boulevard, based upon the floor plan and seeing what's there, the thing that we don't want are the sense of false windows or spandrel glazing going there, trying to emulate a glass wall. I think the honesty of possibly not placing any suggestion of fenestration there is probably more appropriate. The only question that I would ask and defer to Andy and Aaron is there an opportunity for any type of vegetated wall that might work within the context of that area? You'll probably hear the same conversation, but it appears from the renderings that the applicant has heard us in our desires for recessed fenestration, which would certainly be a component of the approval. You know, it's a simple structure. They've conveyed it simply and quite candidly. I have no issue with the canopy. David, may I ask you, why, I mean, the cleanliness of the way that the canopy is presented over the gas area is kind of appealing. I'm not sure I'm following what the structure that you're suggesting be exposed might be.
If you recall, the Harris Teeter fuel station
Mm-hmm.
had kind of the same situation. We had made that comment at that time. This actually was from Dennis.
Okay.
They did add a kind of a sense of beams that went along between the pillars.
I
Just
see.
kind of
So
looked
it's
like
kind of a grid.
Or-
That,
but you know, I think it looks nice this way as well.
Any other comments or a motion?
This is Andy. You know, I think that the site plan, you know, from looking at the previous site plan to this one, I think it has evolved fairly well. I think my only comments is I'd like to see, as the landscape evolves, that you engage the pond bank and not just have a turf border around that pond, and kind of engage those edges around the parking lot so that we're not just bringing turf right up to those edges. I know this is a conceptual plan. I think my only other thing is kind of review your palette, simplify, you know, continue to be native, but just kind of be very strategic. And, you know, this is, you have a very simple building, you know, your landscape can be equally simple, I think.
Any other additional comments or emotion?
If Aaron has no other comments, I would be willing to make a motion for conceptual approval with staff comments 2, 3, 4, 5, and board comments to, as we develop the next phase of project, that we look at engaging the pond bank more into the design, deliberate design expression. Is that fair, Andy, Aaron?
Yeah.
Okay. And to review and simplify plant palette with emphasis on native vegetation.
And just kind of being strategic about the number of species.
Yeah.
And Dinos, if you don't mind, I'd like
Yeah,
to
man.
say I would like them to study the taller wall just to
Yep,
see.
okay.
Then that would go under number 2.
And that sounds good, to study the taller wall, the landscape wall.
Yes, sir.
And then from an architectural point, just to be mindful that the board's desire for as deep recessed fenestration as possible.
Sorry, say that again, Dinos, please.
Pursue as deep recessed fenestration as possible at windows and doors. And that's really it.
Well, Dinos, do you want to, because I know we've ran into this a couple times with, especially like car washes,
Mhm.
is like mechanical penetrations. I
Oh,
know that
yes, thank you. Yes, excellent. Go
is
ahead.
it's just to add that at preliminary that we make sure we see all mechanical penetrations through the roof and specifically the car wash and see how they relate to the parapet and the roof.
And I think we can even, if Andy, if you don't mind me saying that we would like to see the consolidation of the roof penetrations to the greatest extent at the car wash.
I agree. It's your motion, Dinos. I'm
No,
just
man, we're a team.
Okay, so I have a motion for conceptual approval with staff comments 2, 3, 4, and 5, along with board comments with regards to landscaping to engage the pond bake more. 2, review and simplify the plant palette with more of an emphasis on native species. 3, study the taller wall mentioned in staff comment 2. 4, the board's preference is for the applicant to pursue as deep of recessed fenestrations as possible at windows and doors. And 5, at preliminary submittal, show all mechanical penetrations in the roof of the main building and the car wash building, and to consolidate these as much as possible. Is that correct?
Beautifully done.
Is there a second?
This is Andy. I'll second it.
Sandy. And now I'll call roll. Aaron?
Yes, in favor.
And then I'm also yes in favor. So thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Next on the agenda is item number 3, Bees Ferry Road at West Ashley Circle and Floyd Drive. Per the board's request to return for final review, the applicant requests final approval for the construction of a multifamily development with 7 buildings and 186 units.
Just a little bit of context. It's been a while since we've seen this. They got preliminary approval way back in January of 2019. And there was a little miscommunication about whether they needed to resubmit to the board or not. So that's why the gap since we've seen it. Here's a little closer location, right off of West Ashley Circle. And then this is off of Floyd Drive looking into the site. And looking the opposite direction, looking into the site. And then this is off of Bees Ferry Road, looking into where the entrance into the site is going to be. And also off of Bees Ferry Road, looking into the site. And with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant.
So David, can you hear me?
Yes, Karen.
Okay. Being that this is a final review, we've changed the formatting of the drawings into a construction document format. And I just wanted to go over the previous comments and how we've addressed them, and then where you can see them on the new sheets.
Karen, is about 10 minutes okay time-wise for you?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm
Okay.
gonna go through the architectural comments, and then Davis McNair should be on to go through the comments relating to the site, but there's only a few.
Okay, thank you.
So first we're addressing staff comment number 4. And David, if you go to slide 1, the drawing on the top of the page and all the way to the left-hand side, there you go, was, nope, one before that.
Sorry.
There you go. So the drawing at the top of the page and to the left-hand side, we had a section marker that was running through the building and incorrectly showing a section through a balcony. And if you flip to page 2, we've corrected that. And so detail 3 on A313 is now correctly shown through that solid mass of the building. Staff comment number 5 was for us to provide head jamb and sill details for the windows. And so those are now provided on slide 3 on page A605. And taking into consideration, we're trying to recess those windows as deeply as possible, being that they are still nail fin windows, like we're projecting the trim as thick as we can and setting them back as far into the building as possible. And then staff comment number 7 was to have the cover rendering address a parking island that was shown on the landscaping plan, but not necessarily in the rendering. So the cover rendering is different. And so that's one of the apartment buildings. But if you flip to slide 5, which is A210, go back one, there you go. You can see the revised renderings on the right-hand side of the sheet of the clubhouse correctly showing the parking islands. So we were asked to provide details for the mechanical screen walls. If you look at slide 6, which is one more in advance, detail 5 now shows that screen wall, as well as going to slide 7. There you go. At the short ends of the building, we have rows of mechanical units, and then the fence is located on the outside of those to screen view from the outside, as well as some additional landscape areas for screening as well.
Excuse me, Karen. I just wanted to make you aware that your slide number 7 is no longer our slide number 7.
Oh,
Since
okay.
it's in the full presentation.
Got it.
May I ask, where are those mechanical units? I'm sorry, we don't have the benefit of the drawing, so other than what's on the PDF, and it was hard to blow them up. Can you point them out as to where they're located?
Do I have control of a mouse?
Oh.
I was asking David.
If you direct me, are you talking about the...
They're at the short ends of the buildings, so.
Yeah. Is this one here?
Yes.
And then here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, now I see them. And then here.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Okay. And then the next comment has to do with the balcony color matching the siding color. I think there was a little bit of confusion. The balconies have always been white and the siding has always been white. That's still consistent. What we had was the railing color, which is brown. We had a photograph of a railing design that was white, and we just listed the color as brown. And so now we've revised that so that the railings seen on the rendering are brown, and the railing seen here on the material sheet is also brown. Okay. The next two comments I'm going to wait for Davis to address. And then providing dryer vent locations, that they be flush type. If you go back to the very first slide we had, A206, go past the pictures, there you go. you can see the locations of the dryer vents. And then if you proceed forward about 5 slides, there you go. Detail 3 on sheet A515 is showing a section through that flush type dryer vent. And if you proceed 3 more slides down, there you go. Those are our mock-up panel details, and you can see in the plan view of the balcony where we're providing a sample of the pavers for view in the mock-up. And I'm going to turn it over to Davis to address the last 3 comments.
All right. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Well, Davis McNair with Seaman Whiteside. The remaining comments really dealt with the screening of the mechanical units as well as the trash compactor. The mechanical units, we provided a screen detail, and then right outside of that screen, we provided additional vegetation that I believe will grow up to about 3 to 4 feet high. So really, once that vegetation grows in and takes place, you really should not be able to see those units at all. And then the trash compactor was designed to architecturally mimic the buildings itself. And then we planted some very tall shrubs around the outside of that. The remaining comment, I believe, does that take care of them all, Karen? Sorry, I'm traveling right now, working remote.
Oh, Karen, you're muted.
I apologize. Davis, we did transformers, trash enclosures, and the last one had to do with increasing native plantings. Yep.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so for the third one, we replaced 3 species with more native, especially in those more pedestrian traffic areas, so the internal of the site. So overall, we provided the screening to those kind of critical areas and increased the native planting throughout the project. So unless you have any more civil or landscaping questions, we'll turn it over to the board.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? With none and no public comment, David, staff recommendations, please.
Okay. I really didn't have any comments other than that the applicant has satisfied all the staff and board comments. We do recommend final approval.
Thanks, David. Any discussion items or a motion?
This is Dinos. I remember the discussion a year and a half ago dealing with the reason that we asked, and I think it was Jeff and I asked for the window details, and it was because I don't believe there was any provided at that point in time, and our concern, if I remember, that we expressed was the issue of creating as deep of a recess of the window as possible. We just went through this with another application, I believe last month, where they had come back and actually had proposed a similar type installation with a larger trim that would give the illusion of recess, and we rejected that. The intent was not an illusion that we were trying to pursue. It was actually the actual recessed window. So from a consistency standpoint, I'm struggling, and I think that unfortunately, the other architectural members aren't here, but and not to speak for them, but I think that they would possibly or probably share the same struggle that I'm having right now with accepting the window design as shown, when I know we have asked consistently that windows be recessed as deeply as possible within the context of the walls. And there are ways to achieve that, as we have seen from other applications. So I'm not sure at this point, considering the fact that we're at final, how we address that issue other than asking for a revised window design that shows a deeper recess. And I don't know if it's a deferral, and I'm just throwing this out to the board, not having heard any of your other comments, but I do believe that this is significant enough that from an architectural standpoint, we will want to see other solutions to this.
If I could jump in, I think it would still be possible, if acceptable, to approve with the condition of wanting to see a recessed window detail, which I could pass on.
Okay.
Okay. Any additional comments or motion?
I guess I was just going to ask this, how Dinos feels about that. I mean, it's, do you feel like it's something you're willing to see go to the sample panel with the understanding that if we don't like the solution there, it can cause some delays?
Yeah, as long as the applicant understands, because and I know you guys know this. This is probably voicing a position that the applicant will hear, and if we get to the sample panel, as long as the applicant does not put the onus of burden on our shoulders, that, well, this is the best I can do. I mean, if they're willing to take that risk, at that point in construction and be subject to a potential denial of the solution, and they understand that, I'm willing to certainly do that. But I think from the applicant standpoint, only thing that we're asking for is a revised a detail showing a deeper recess within the context of that wall. And if it were me, I think I would much prefer to do resubmit a design for it as opposed to go that far into the sample panel.
David, are we okay just to give final approval with the exception that that detail has to come back to you at staff review that you can share with the architects on the board for any comments?
That sounds like the best way to handle it, rather
Okay.
than asking them to come back with the full final set.
And that would be fine with me.
Yeah, it sounds like that's the only real concern, and I'd hate to go through a whole new submittal just for that one specific item.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and just for clarity, again, this was exactly the same thing that was submitted just a month ago, and it was rejected.
Mhm.
Okay. Dinos, do you want to make the motion?
Certainly, I would move for approval, final approval, with the applicant resubmitting for review and approval a revised design of the window detail showing the fenestration as deep.
Sorry, slow down 1 second, Dinos. Applicant must resubmit for review and approval to staff. Sorry, go ahead.
Window details.
Would that mainly be achieved by a section?
Yeah, I mean, just the same detail that they've, similar to the same one sheet detail that they've already provided.
Okay. So we have a motion for final approval with the condition that the applicant must resubmit for review and approval to staff the window details.
So reflecting a deeper recess of the window.
Okay. Dinos made the motion. Is there a second?
This is Erin. I'll second.
Thanks, Erin. And I will call roll. Andy?
Yes, approved.
And same for me, yes, in favor. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is item number 4, 1861 Bohicket Road, Hot Gap School Addition, requesting conceptual approval for the addition to an existing school.
Got just a few slides to go through here. Okay. Just a little bit of context first. Here's the location, I'm sorry, 1861 Bohicket Road, near the intersection of Bohicket and Main. This is the existing school location. A little closer view. And then here's the existing school building here. Here we are, existing building. And this is looking at the existing building. A little further away from Bohicket. And with that, I'll turn it over to the applicant. I believe, Emma, are you going to be the first one to speak? Oh, and you are muted, Emma.
Emma, can you hear us?
This is actually Margarita Perez with Brownstone Construction Group on behalf of the owner. I believe Emma's on this call, but you had put me on panelist instead of, I think, maybe Emma.
She's showing up and showing unmuted, but we can't hear her.
We can't
I'm not
hear
sure
her.
if I'm not sure if she can hear us.
Yeah, she was muted and now she's not.
It looks like Linda is on as well. Linda, can you hear us? Doesn't sound like Linda or Emma.
I'm going to try calling Emma real quick.
Okay. They're both showing in and is brought into the meeting and able to talk.
Hi, is this Emma? Oh, well, not in the presentation. I just called you on the phone. So I'm sorry, what was the problem? Oh, gosh. I'm not sure how that. Yeah, why don't you give that a try? Are you able to do? Are you able to just call on your phone instead of connecting? I see. That's a good point. Let me see if I see your phone number on here. Yeah, get that here. Let me see if I can speak with the person who's driving the Zoom meeting. Linda Bennett.
Yes.
The applicant has she's on her computer to see the PowerPoint, but she called in because she doesn't have a microphone. Do you see a number listed for 843-224-4794? If you could unmute that one. I do see you listed. I think she's in the process of unmuting you.
I've asked her to unmute, but then nothing's happening.
I think she's dialing back in. I see connecting to audio. So Emma, I don't know if you can hear us, but both your name and your phone number are still shown as muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay, great. Sorry about that.
that's all right. Good deal. Glad we got you. Welcome.
Okay. Ladies of Zoom meetings. So this is, as David said, the addition to Hawk Cat Middle School. And the existing school is 49,450 square feet. And we're proposing an addition of 14,254 square feet. The reason for this addition, there are 3 trailers, or what we call learning cottages, located in the rear of the site, and the district would like to eliminate these and also expand their orchestra, band, and chorus programs. Presently, these programs are in an existing classroom wing in rooms that are inappropriate for this function. So next slide. Do I have control? No.
No,
Okay.
you'll have to let me know, please.
Okay, this is just an overview of what we'll be presenting. Next slide.
And Emma, we typically go for about 10 minutes on the applicant presentation. We're being a little bit flexible with the virtual meetings. Do you think you'll need much time beyond 10 minutes?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But also I have on, hopefully that's connected, is Richard Bailey from Hussey Gay Bell, who was involved with the civil and landscape design.
Linda, I'm guessing he's HGB.
Correct.
Okay, if you could let HGB into the meeting, and Richard, if you can hear me, if you could type next time your name, so we know who to let in. Thanks, Emma, go ahead.
Okay, so this is just an overview of the existing site, an aerial view showing the school building and the parking lot that's located adjacent to the building on the right-hand side is where the addition is going. Next slide. This is just a more graphic representation of the building or of the site and the amenities, parking, ball field in the front. This school is pretty far back from the street, and this just shows the expanded detention pond, and this shows the 3 trailers in the back of the existing site. Next slide. Next slide. So this is an overview of the site with the addition. The addition you can see there on the right-hand side. We will be needing to do a temporary parking lot, which is located sort of, yes, in that area next to the ball field while the construction is going on. Next slide. This is just a closer view of the addition. And this also shows the new parking area that's in front of the addition and extends down around the existing entrance drive. Next slide. This is just showing the expanded detention pond and the fence and the new gate. Next slide. Next slide. So this unfortunately didn't come out, this slide didn't come out right in this view, but this shows the area of the proposed addition. Next slide. This is just a closer view of the building. Next slide. So this is the existing floor plan. The area to the right of the gymnasium is where the addition is going. This is the first floor. Next slide is the second floor. Next slide. Next slide. So this is a demo plan showing the limited amount of demolition that we're doing, and the demolition elevations are below that. Next slide. This is showing the new addition with the existing. We're adding 4 general classrooms, a new pre-function area for the gymnasium, the existing gymnasium, and we're adding an orchestra, band room, and a chorus room with their supplemental functions such as music storage or practice rooms. Next slide. Just a graphic representation of the areas of the building we're working in. We're also doing just major or minor work within the building. Next slide. So these are 2 elevations. The first one is the north building elevation. The bottom is the west building elevation. Next slide. And the east building and the south building, the south there is the front entrance. Also to the left is sort of a little mock-up panel sketch. We are matching the existing materials of this building exactly. We're using the same brick that's used in the adjacent, the same materials all over. Next slide. These are just 2 axonometrics of the new addition and how it fits into the existing building. And there's a mistake in our presentation. That bottom elevation is the street elevation, showing the existing building and then where we're doing the addition off to the right. Next slide. So that should not say street facing elevation at the bottom there. That is actually the rear elevation. And again, showing the proposed addition to the left and the existing building to the right. Next slide. This is a rendering of the front elevation. So to the left there is the existing gymnasium. And then everything beside that is the new addition. Next slide. This is an animated walkthrough of the existing building with the new addition. So if you click on it, it should go into animation.
Oh, gosh. I don't think so. This is just part of our PowerPoint presentation. I didn't know that there was an animation in here. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Okay.
I can still send it to the board.
Okay, great. Because that really takes you around the building and shows you the existing with the new.
I apologize.
And then I think we also had a landscape plan.
Oh, gosh. Yes. Let me see if I can find that. I thought I had it in here. I apologize. Give me one moment, please. I'll see if I can find that animation too. What was the name of the animation? Do you know? 'Cause
I think we sent it to you as a separate file.
yeah, I'm afraid I'm not seeing that. Let me see if I can.
Dave, it looks like the landscape plan was a separate file.
Yeah, I've got the landscape plan here. I'm just trying to figure out how to share it.
Okay.
Here we go. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we can.
Anything further?
No, that's it. Unfortunately, the fly around didn't work.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm not seeing it in my folder. It must still be in my email.
All right, thank you, Emma. Any questions from the board?
I have a couple questions, and apologize if I missed it, but you mentioned the temporary parking area. Two questions about that. What is the proposed material for that? And then will that be just resodded after, or will it stay a parking lot? What's the plan for that?
This is Richard Bailey. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah, the temporary parking lot will remain grass. We will be putting wheel stops to identify the parking spaces. They're just denoted there now as stripes, but it will have wheel stops. Where the new parking is across the existing entrance drive there, that was grass overflow parking for the original parking lot, which is basically where the new building is going. And that all of that area there and back towards the pond, not under the power line easement, but that will become the staging area for the building materials and things for the construction of the school. And we just needed the amount of parking necessary to accommodate teachers and staff and visitors and anyone dropping off a child or something like that to enter into the school. If you look back at the site plan, there's the bus drop off on the left side of the building as you would look at the plan. Those are also being modified. That will be the teacher parking areas now during construction. See where the trees are on the left side of the drawing, up higher, there. That's the existing bus drop off now, and it had bus parking within those, around the circle, and those parking spaces are being eliminated as bus parking and will become teacher parking during construction. They will remain as parking spaces at the end of the job as well. No bus parking.
And then it looks like, and I have it pulled up on my other computer screen over here, and it's just kind of fuzzy. The quality isn't great of the copy I have. So I'm having trouble reading everything, but there looks like what is, I assume, a fire lane along the right side of the building proposed along the.
That's correct. There has to be a fire lane all the way around the building. There's one today, and we're just modifying that where the new building is. It has to be rerouted beyond on the to the right side.
It looks like there's like a hatch for the first section of it directly adjacent to the building. Is that going to be a different surface? What's the?
Yes, it'll be a gravel surface. On the right side of the building, though, that will be paved back to the outdoor classroom because that's the band loading area off of the building. So they would pull vehicles up in there to load vans or going to events and things of that nature. But beyond that, it will be gravel all the way around to the bus loop.
Okay, so the part directly adjacent to the building will be asphalt, I assume, and then turning to gravel?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? There is no one registered to speak during the public comment period. So David, staff recommendations, please.
Sure. Again, this is David Meeks. Staff comment number one, staff feels that the new addition is nice and in keeping with the existing building design style, the height, scale, and mass, and the material and colors. DRB requires that roof mechanical systems that are visible from the ground or other parts of the building interior be screened. Staff asks that the applicant provide necessary screening of the mechanical on the roof if necessary. And DRB does reserve the right to ask for this at a later time if we find that the mechanical systems are very visible. Number 3, if possible, staff would like to see an added planting strip along the front of the building. Let me go to the rendering here. So along this front facade, if possible, we were wanting to know if there could be an additional strip between the building facade and the sidewalk or to soften the edge of the building. But with that, we do recommend conceptual approval.
Thanks, David. Board discussion and a motion.
Can you hear me? This is Emma Souter.
Sure.
I wanted to talk about the mechanical equipment. If you go back to the plan, the orchestra room and the band room and the chorus are all tall elements. And the mechanical equipment are going to be placed behind that, so they will be screened from view by the higher elements of the front of the building.
Emma, is the axiometric or the isometric that you have representative of where the mechanical units will be?
Yes.
Okay, so on A2.01, they're behind the taller section of the building.
Correct.
Okay, very good.
I have a minor comment, but I think it's worth mentioning. Staff comment 3 about adding the planting strip along the south foundation. I'd propose that that be extended along the east and north foundation too. It looks like the sidewalk's pushed right up along the building for the entire facade all the way around. And it would be nice to soften it wherever we can with some plantings. So just extending the comment all the way around the building, or all the way around the addition. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I concur with Aaron's comment. And I guess my only other comment is to find a substitution for, I would prefer both the lower pedalum and the pittosporum, but definitely the pittosporum. And just kind of restudy those selections. Other than that, and Aaron's comment about the planting strip, I'm fine with the conceptual level.
Yeah, architecturally, this is Dinos. It's very nice, respectful addition. I think that I'm wondering, certainly would support conceptual. Is there any reason at this point in time, considering the advancement, I'm just asking the question now, that we might not be able to push this to a preliminary approval?
Yeah, I don't think it has the elements that we look for at preliminary. I mean, the number of sections, and I mean, I think we need to be consistent with what we require at preliminary is my only concern.
Well, I would certainly support conceptual approval. I will defer to others to make the motion.
This is Andy. I will make a motion for conceptual approval with staff comments 2 and 3, with 3 being modified to extend the planting strip around the foundation as discussed, and with board comment to find a substitution for the lower pedalum and the pittosporum.
So we have a motion by Andy for conceptual approval with staff comments 2 and 3. Board comments number 1, modifying staff comment 3 to extend the planting strip all the way around the addition, and 2, find a substitute for the pittosporum and lower pedalum. Is there a second?
I'll second Dinos. Oh, Aaron, let me defer to Aaron.
Okay, Aaron has the second, and Dinos, your vote?
Yay.
Okay, and same for myself, yes in favor. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yul.
Next on the agenda is item number 5, DRB submittal requirements, reviewing the revised and updated DRB submittal requirements.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question here?
Sure.
I know that Jeff, and probably Michelle too, but I know Jeff particularly had a great deal of engagement with regards to these comments. And I guess I need to ask you and David, would it be possibly appropriate to defer action on these until at least Jeff, we may have more representation on DRB as far as a vote to accept?
I don't have an issue with that. Do you, David?
I don't either. That's fine.
Okay. Dinos, is that a motion to defer?
Please, yes. I move
Do a
that we
motion to defer until we have more than just right at quorum. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, Aaron seconds. Andy,
Yes, in favor.
same yes in favor. That item is done. Moving on to item number 6, review and approval for minutes from the July 20th, 2020 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Andy has the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Dinos has the second. Aaron?
Yes, in favor.
And same for me, yes in favor.
All right. Well, I think that went pretty well.
Record time.
Mhm.
Excellent. Are we still live?
Yes, we are. And we still have participants in the
Okay.
meeting as well.
Okay.